The sun was relentless that day. But the real heat, it wasn't coming from the sky. It came from a moment so small, so insignificant, that it should have passed in seconds. But instead, it exposed something much deeper in their marriage. Something neither of them could ignore anymore. Because sometimes, it's not about the argument. It's about what the argument reveals. If you've ever felt dismissed, disrespected, or pushed aside, even in the smallest moments, hit like, subscribe, and stay with me, because this story might hit closer to home than you expect. It was supposed to be a peaceful day. Just sun, sea, and silence. Daniel had been looking forward to it all week. At 25, life felt like it was constantly demanding something from him: work, expectations, responsibilities, and this beach day was his escape. A simple one, a quiet one. His wife, Lena, had insisted they go. "You need to slow down," she had told him the night before. He didn't argue, because lately, arguing had become exhausting. They had been married for 3 years. And somewhere between routines and responsibilities, something had shifted. Not dramatically, not loudly, just quietly. Conversations had become shorter, smiles less frequent, and understanding that had started to feel like effort. Still, they showed up. To life, to each other, to this beach. The heat that day was unbearable. The kind that presses against your skin and refuses to let go. Shade was rare, precious, and when Daniel finally found it, a small cluster of trees, spaced just enough apart to offer relief, it felt like a victory. 2 deck chairs sat beneath them, clearly placed by a nearby resort. He noticed them, of course he did, and he made a decision. "I'm not touching those," he muttered to himself, laying his towel beside them instead. Lena watched him quietly. That was Daniel, careful, respectful, non-confrontational, at least, most of the time. They settled in. Time passed gently. He swam, he read, he relaxed. For a moment, everything felt normal again. It started with something small. It always does. Daniel knocked his bag over. Sand spilled into it. Annoyed, he brushed it off and, without thinking too much, placed it briefly on one of the empty deck chairs. Just for a moment, that moment changed everything. Minutes later, a man approached. Older, late 60s, his face already tight with irritation. He didn't greet them, didn't ask. He pointed, at the chair, at the bag, at Daniel. The message was clear. Daniel sighed softly and removed his bag. "Sorry," he said, but the apology felt forced. Because something about the way the man approached him, the tone, the posture, the assumption, didn't sit right. Lena noticed it immediately. She shifted slightly on her towel. Watching, listening. The man didn't stop. He grumbled, loudly, aggressively, like Daniel had committed something far worse than placing a bag down for a moment. Then, she arrived, the wife, and suddenly, it wasn't just tension. It was confrontation. They spoke sharply, fast, accusing. The words came heavy with entitlement. "You have the whole beach. Why here?" Why next to us? Lena felt her chest tighten. Not because of what they were saying, but because of what she knew was coming. Daniel didn't like being spoken to like that. Not anymore. Not after years of swallowing frustration. Not after months of feeling unheard. Lena watched him closely. She knew that look. The calm one. The one that wasn't really calm. The one that meant something was building beneath the surface. She thought, please, just let it go. It's not worth it. We can move. Because to her, peace mattered more than pride. But to Daniel, this wasn't about the chair anymore. It wasn't even about the beach. It was about something deeper. Something he hadn't been able to articulate. Not at home. Not in conversations that ended with, "You're overthinking. It's not a big deal. Why do you always make things bigger than they are?" He had heard those words before. From Lena, more than once. And now, standing there, being spoken to like he didn't belong. Something clicked. "I'm not doing anything wrong," Daniel said calmly. Too calmly. The older man scoffed. "You're crazy," he snapped. "You put your luggage on my chair." Daniel exhaled slowly. "I've been here for an hour." It wasn't a problem then. The man's wife crossed her arms. "We've been here longer." That was the moment. The shift. Because the logic didn't matter. The truth didn't matter. Respect did. And right now, there wasn't any. Lena leaned closer. "Daniel, let's just move," she whispered. But he didn't look at her. Didn't respond. He just said, "You can sit anywhere too." Silence followed. Heavy. Uncomfortable. The couple grew louder. More aggressive. More insistent. But Daniel, he stopped engaging, picked up his book, and started reading, like they didn't exist. Lena's heart pounded. Not from fear, from tension, from the weight of what this moment represented. Because this wasn't just Daniel standing his ground against strangers. This was Daniel, changing. The man returned from the water later. His movements deliberate, petty. He dragged the chair around Daniel. Let it hover above him. Waited for a reaction. None came, so he escalated. He walked across Daniel's towel. Kicked sand. Hard. Deliberately. It hit Daniel's arm. His book. His space. Lena flinched. Daniel didn't. Not at first. Then slowly, he looked up. Calm eyes. Sharp voice. "That's kind of you," he said. A pause. Then, "I thought with age, you learn manners." The words landed. Heavy. The man froze. Lena held her breath. Daniel added, quietly, "It's embarrassing." Silence. Thick. Uncomfortable. The kind that says everything without shouting. Time stretched. 30 minutes passed. Then another. Lena noticed something she hadn't seen in a long time. Daniel wasn't reacting. He wasn't chasing peace. He wasn't shrinking himself to avoid conflict. He was steady, grounded, unmoved, and something about that shifted inside her. Because for so long, she had seen his calmness as weakness. His patience as passivity. But now, she saw it differently. This wasn't weakness. This was control. This was self-respect. And for the first time in a while, she felt something unexpected. Respect. For him. For the way he held his ground without losing himself. Eventually, Daniel stood up. Slowly, carefully, he gathered his things. No rush, no frustration, just intention. Lena watched him, curious, because she knew he wasn't done. He lifted his towel, paused, then, with one smooth motion, he flicked it. Sand flew straight toward the man, a mirror of what had been done to him. The man jumped up instantly, face red, furious. "What are you doing?" Daniel tilted his head slightly. Calm. "It's just sand," he said. "A beat. The same sand you kicked at me." The man grabbed a handful and threw it back. But he hadn't thought it through. The wind caught it, carried it, right back into his own face. For a split second, everything stopped. Then Daniel smiled faintly. "Have a nice day." And just like that, he walked away. Lena followed, silent, processing. Behind them, faint shouting echoed. "Idiot, idiot," but it didn't matter anymore. They walked along the shoreline. No words at first, just the sound of waves. And something else, something lighter. Finally, Lena spoke. "That wasn't really about the chair, was it?" Daniel didn't answer immediately. Then quietly, "No." A pause. "I'm just tired of feeling like I have to move every time someone decides I don't belong." Lena swallowed, because she understood, more than she wanted to admit. "I didn't realize," she started. "I know," he said gently. Not accusing, not angry, just honest. And in that moment, something shifted between them, not dramatically, not perfectly, but meaningfully. Because for the first time in a long time, they weren't avoiding the truth. They were standing in it. Together. Marriage isn't tested in big moments. It's tested in the small ones. The quiet disagreements. The subtle dismissals. The moments where respect is either given or taken away. Because sometimes, the loudest wake-up call isn't shouting. It's the moment someone finally decides, I'm not moving anymore. If this story resonated with you, hit like and tell me in the comments, what would you have done in this situation?